Hey Josh.
What's happening?
Hey, it's been like a month. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. What's new?
Well, there's no one making decisions apparently.
Sweet.
That was kind of weird
Yeah.
when I saw them.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Well, so I was like, I was at the lake. I was trying to just figure out well, it wasn't really figuring out. I was just paying attention, like what was happening, and I couldn't find someone that was like making decisions, whether it be like to sit down, stand up, walk, look, listen, like it's all happening on its own. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's funny. Beautiful. Nice.
And there was a point where I was just listening and I heard two sounds, but then I was like, there can't be two sounds if I'm just listening. Like
Hmm.
that's just a thought separating things. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I was also like, wait a minute, am I listening? I was like, I can't find a person that's listening either. It's like, it's like there was nothing to like ground myself. Like even the census didn't point to a self. I was like, wait a minute, I
Nice.
can't reference anything.
I can't work in these conditions.
It's really great. It's like I get to just let go
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
happening on its own.
If you were to describe what that's like for someone, would you be able to pinpoint to anything what letting go is like?
It's like you stop trying, but that doesn't mean there isn't like things happening, even though there aren't actually it's not something specific happening, but it's like a very natural flow of things,
Yeah, man.
but you're
That's
not trying
perfect.
to alter the flow. It's
Hmm.
like you're noticing the flow. And it's
Yeah.
like you actually can't escape it
I mean, where are you gonna go?
because there's nothing except what's already happening.
That's it. That's it.
Like even like the following days, like there was like an experiment, like how do I get out of this? And it was literally impossible. Even the trying to get out of it was part of it. It's like, how do you explain trying to get out of something that's already happening? And
Right.
yet you're like it's like a game that you're so curious. Like I'm trying to make myself like crumble and fall apart. I'm trying to break the rules, but it's impossible. But there are no rules either. So it's like, what's going on? I don't know how to talk about this, but it's so natural. Even this is like I'm just here and this is coming out of my mouth and I'm trying to talk about something I have no idea how to talk about.
Isn't that great though? It's still somehow happening.
Yeah, it's like I don't gotta figure it out anymore.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. How's that feel?
It feels so natural. Like
Yeah.
even when there's a lot of energy, like I started a new job and there's like energy and focus, but it doesn't feel forced. It feels very natural.
Yeah. Isn't that, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how to explain how I'm breathing, and yet it's happening. It's natural, it's spontaneous, and it's like the most obvious thing ever. And it's like that everywhere, whether it be when I'm meditating, normal everyday life. It's like it's all the most natural thing ever.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you have a schedule of meditation?
I did, but when this happened, for some reason, I dropped the schedule, but
Hmm.
I still meditate. But I wouldn't be able to tell you when. It just happens on its own.
Pretty much. Seems to be like that. Yeah. Awesome. What kind of job? I mean, how's the job anyway?
It's a substitute teaching job right now.
Cool.
So I get to interact with a lot of people, especially people that you can probably say are difficult, but it's like even when things are challenging, they don't feel like it's a problem. And it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Like
What
challenging isn't the problem.
is it teaching like all ages or is it high school?
So far it's mostly been like K to fifth grade.
Oh,
Although
okay.
I did sign up for all grade levels, but haven't gotten the higher ones yet.
Yeah. Yeah. The challenge can be different with larger bodies, it seems, but it's not a problem.
Yeah. I think one of the coolest things is there's almost like an interest in challenge. It's like
Yeah.
you almost put yourself in there just to see what's going on.
Right.
But you're not trying to figure it out or get past it. You're just like, what is happening? Instead of what can I get out of it? Like
Yeah.
before, maybe there's been like challenge for growth. Now it's like I just want to know what's going on.
Yeah. I like that. There is a marked difference between having a sense of an end result and just being immersed in what is. Does it feel more like a game?
Yeah, and if it doesn't, that's the point where I was like, hey, I think I'm re-identifying. And it gets even more like it gets funny. It's like, oh, this is how I'm like reasserting the character. Like, it may not have gone away completely, but it's also not a problem when it comes back because it's almost like it's just funny like how it comes back. It's like, oh, here's something I didn't notice that was always going on until now. It's like it's so subtle too. It's like the smallest thing. It's like you need a microscope to see all the subtle ways you're trying to like re-identify. And it's I, like you don't even resist the resistance, and it almost like a science. Like you're looking under a microscope, like, what is this? You're not even trying to get rid of it. You're just like, what is this? And
That's
as soon as you see it, it just goes away. And you don't do anything to make it go away. It just, oh, I see. And it's like, it's gone. Like, I didn't do anything.
that's the best way to describe it. Just noticing it. That's it. Yeah,
It's,
I like to hear the curiosity, because really when we talk about curiosity, it's not about finding out anything. It's just because.
yeah, when you're looking for something, there's like all you see is what you're looking for. But when you just look, it's like everything's there right here, like the most obvious thing ever. It's like there's nothing more to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even know how I'm like I didn't think this through. I don't even know how I'm explaining this, but it's like apparently I can talk about it even though I haven't really tried to figure it out.
Well, that's the best, right? Because it's spontaneous, um, immediate, kind of improvised. But what isn't improvised? I think we start to get a sense of that. Yeah.
Yeah, like when you have no center, everything is just like unfolds on its own. Like I can't even I can't even find like a starting point. There's no starting point. And because there's no start, there's no end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's pretty hard to define something without some finite boundary there, of start and end. I think it's pretty wise.
It's great because you can't even see people as like a thing anymore. It's just there's nothing to figure out except what's right in front of you. Like, and yet you can still have like boundaries and stuff. Doesn't mean like you give up your boundaries when you're like in this flow. It's like even that's part of the flow. There's like nothing that's not nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Um, Boundaries are interesting because I think a lot of people get a sense that a boundary is like a wall, but maybe it's not a wall. Maybe it's a doorway. Boundary is showing people where the door is.
Yeah, like because sometimes like at work, I'm at a point where I kind of have to assert myself, like because there are kids that are misbehaving. Like I had a kid hit me because she was
Hey,
trying to eat a leaf, and I didn't think it through. It was just, hey, I'm not gonna let you do that.
and she smacked you, huh?
Yeah, but I didn't take it personally. It's like I don't know what personal means anymore. Like, it's not about me. There isn't a center where I'm like, this is about me, or things are in relationship to me, because there isn't a me that's like in relationship to anything.
Hmm.
It's just what's happening.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. So, how often do you go in for substitute? Is it just here and there? Like, is it on call where you are?
Yeah, it's just on call. but sometimes it's 5 days a week. Sometimes I don't get a day. But it's
Yeah.
like I also noticed a self reasserting there. It was like when there was a day off on a day like no one needed me, it's like, there was resistance. Like, and then I saw it, I was like, oh, and it just went away. It's like, well, that was simple. I was like, I just noticed the thought. It's like, oh, you should be productive. It's like, no, that's just a thought. And then it's like I went back to just enjoying myself. Like,
Nice.
there's no point trying to like argue with what's happening.
Right? What are we going to do to stop it? It's like, you know, yelling at the rain. Or, another funny metaphor came up. A little kid, those little floaties that they wear for swimming?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's like standing on a shoreline, and here comes this huge tidal wave. And at some point in life, some people are like, okay, I'm going to push through that wave. And here comes a wave. Wham! That's what it is to like argue with things as they are. Or we can just let the wave take us, and then we realize we're body surfing.
Yeah, I love that. Especially like there's one thing that I kept having to see over and over, but it was so small. It was like seeing other people get caught up in their head, like it made me kind of resistant. But I noticed if I didn't even resist other people being mind identified, and it's like this is actually really easy. Like I get to listen, I can actually like see all this mind stuff and just watch it, like almost like a play or a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet is isn't that disconnecting from other people? It's like you can be mind identified and I can still connect without trying to be like, you gotta go beyond that, bro. Like just transcend that. There's no it's like, no, I'm like a normal ass person. And it's like great, but I don't take it personally. Like I don't know how you be normal and not personal at the same time, but apparently it happens.
Yeah. That's part of this, just like you're pointing to, that flow. And basically, what you're describing right there is meeting people exactly where they are. There you go. Their mind identified. Okay.
Like I can't do it apparently, but it's like there's still no disc. Like there's no boundary, even though I just said I can still have boundaries. Well, they're more practical boundaries, but not like that. Boundaries of a self, I can't find it.
Right. Yep. That's it. Strange, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a lot of paradox in there.
Yeah, it's like I'm not actually planning things. It's just if a plan happened, it's something that's natural with everything that comes to this point, or it's like, oh, I guess planning is happening, but it's not me that's planning.
Yeah. I like the attitude. I guess planning's happening.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I almost got in trouble at work once because, like, I guess I wasn't supposed to walk up on the left side of the stairs, and I was just standing there while the principal was saying, go to the right." I was like, "Does she mean me too?" Because there's other people. Like, she's talking to a specific kid, but I was like, "Does she mean me also?" Because I kind of work here now. But like, I didn't take it personal. Like, even the thinking is like when I get caught up in thinking, it's like I didn't decide to think; it just happened. It's like thinking is not a problem either.
Yeah.
Like, I know
Yeah.
all these pointers are like going beyond thinking or thoughts, but like thinking is fine,
Well,
especially when you're identified with it.
that's it. I mean, it's not, there's no problem with thinking, that's for sure. And a lot of the pointers do. I think, I don't know. I don't know. It seems like people, if you can get a break from thought long enough, when you kind of reconvene with thought, it doesn't have the same quality of taking over the scenery, so to speak. And it sounds like that's what has happened for you, is that you recognize that, oh, there's thought, but it's not taking over the experience. It's not dictating everything. It's just it's just part of everything else.
There's still thoughts, but they're like the wind. It's like they kind of brush on you, but it's no big deal.
That's it. Yeah. They don't have a power. They're not making you feel reactive to them.
Yeah, I guess maybe a more identified thought is like a whirlwind hitting you. But
Sure.
even then, it's like it's not a problem because you see through it. Like when you're like, huh, what's happening? And it's pretty grand.
And I hear underneath it all a lot of curiosity, just what's happening. Just that. It's perfect.
Even like there's not even a problem with like conditioning. Like I have certain habits, but it's not a problem.
Mm, yeah.
And when it's not a problem for me, it's not a problem that other people are the way they are. Even if it's like I don't practically agree, but it's like it's not a problem that they disagree or they're different.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of freedom in that.
Yeah, besides, some conditioning I think should be pretty wise to keep, like brushing my teeth and stuff.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
wouldn't do that.
it, I mean, even something as much as like eating, right? Eating food, it's probably a good idea,
Yeah,
because if we don't, there might be some sort of stuff that happens with the body. But
or
yeah.
just yeah, or just really practical, nice stuff like hygiene, because
Hmm.
there's certain kids where like you don't have good hygiene, and I'm just like, maybe conditioning ain't all that bad. Because I don't know if I should say this, but there's a kid. He doesn't flush the toilet. So if you go to the bathroom, it's not flushed, you know who it is. But I'm just kind of like, maybe conditioning is fine.
Well, it definitely there isn't definitely an aspect of use for conditioning. What you're basically describing is that Buddhist concept of chop wood, carry water. You know,
Mhm.
before something seems to become clear, there's a resistance to chopping the wood and carrying the water. And then after, there's really not. And that's kind of what you're talking about here is like, if there is conditioning and it's not a problem, then there's no resistance.
Yeah. It's even my relationship with sleep and like energy is so different, but so hard to point to. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
not a problem with being tired or getting very little sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even things that are like, oh, well, it might be hard because I'm tired. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, I'm still doing it because I can't do anything. Like, it's like I've lost the ability to choose, but I can still choose on a practical level. If you ask me, like, do you
Yeah.
want to go here or there? Like, yeah, I can choose, but it's like I'm not the one trying to decide how to choose. And it's like, it's awesome. It takes the pressure off of me into nothing, actually.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. It's just, I don't even know how I got here. It's like, oh, I'm so magical in a way.
Yeah, I think that's where the whole spirituality aspect comes in, where it just mysteriously here we are suddenly, you know? And that mystery, since it can't be explained, we just kind of default to that which is spiritual. But who knows if there's a difference? Probably not.
I've been thinking it kind of like, if you ask me to point to the relative stuff, go to the door on your right. If you want the spiritual stuff, go to the door on your left. But the joke is, both the doors are in the same building. It's like, there's no difference.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good metaphor. It's,
Like, I don't even try to distinguish it anymore because there it is. Like, there's no reason to unless asked.
yeah, that's another piece right there too, is not falling prey to the feeling. A lot of people have this sense of I have to create distinguishments, I have to create contrast in that kind of sense. And now you're not really falling prey to that. So sounds kind of nice.
It's like everything is everything and everything is nothing. It's like, it's so obvious. But that didn't make any sense if you tried to explain it.
That's for sure. That's awesome. What else is new?
That's pretty much the gist of it. It's like, I just don't know. There's just no more decisions to make.
Mm,
Even when I'm trying to figure things out practically, like that's fine, but I can't find a self deciding. I can't find a self that's listening. I don't even know what's looking. Like there's nothing there.
mm-hmm.
And yet they're still seeing.
Yeah, mysterious. How are relationships? I know you talked about people being mind identified, and that's no problem.
It's weird because it's awesome. Because it's like I get to be a normal person again while just I don't take it's like I take people seriously, but I don't get that. Well, I don't know what to call it. It's like that. Like I don't get sucked in. Like it's serious, but there's not that suction that's like that grimy suction. Like we gotta create this drama.
Mm-hmm.
They can do it, and I can just watch them do it and still like be completely like very sincere at the same time.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Like people are just it's so weird to say people because it's like I don't even they're not even people. Like there's nothing to really distinguish another person other than like maybe a body, and that's still just another thought because like well, I don't even know how things move because we don't think about like individual people or objects or subjects. Like there's nothing here,
Mm,
but you can still do it. Like I can still talk to people. I can still call them by name. I can
hmm
still have memories of them, but it's like there's no weight to it.
hmm Yeah. In some kind of flux.
There's no static point anywhere.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Nothing fixed. Hmm.
Like even when I'm walking, like even the sound of a car can like make the body move faster, like just in case. Like there's still that very natural movement, but it's like I'm not making the body move faster. It's happening all on its own. I'm not the one that's deciding to look around. Even if that's conditioned, like that's not a problem. It's like everything is just fine as it is.
Yeah. That's it. Nothing to fix. The word fix is an interesting word. Sometimes it can be used to like hold something in place, to like affix something. Something is fixed. And then it also can mean to repair something. Strange.
Mhm. It's like there's not a like you can ask me to fix something like if something broke, but when it comes to people, like what are you asking me to do other than just show up? Because I don't feel like I can fix someone because I'm not sure what's broken in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, and is there anything broken? That's a part of that question.
I can't seem to find it, even if they will tell you. Was like I don't think that's like someone can tell you like this is what's wrong with me, and you can just be there and be like, I mean, I can hear you clearly, but I don't think it's a problem. That thing you think is your problem.
Yeah. I don't see your problem as a problem.
And if you can even ask me for advice, and I probably will give it, but I also don't think my advice is like that's if it's happening, it's happening. But like I'm not thinking my advice is like this holy grail of answers. It's just I'm
Right.
just relating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like it doesn't really have any substance, maybe just relating. That's funny.
I mean, I even get told by certain people like you seem to smile a lot, but I never have like the thought or like the self-reflection that am I smiling? It's like, I don't know. I only know it because people are telling me like, shouldn't I know what I'm doing? Apparently not.
Yeah. Because it's kind of just happening, it sounds like.
Like I don't gotta figure out what I'm doing anymore. And when that happens, it's just it's like you've let go of selfing even more. But it's like I don't know how to describe the self when it gets so clear that it's not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it gets really tough to talk about. That's for sure.
Yeah, when it goes away and like when it gets clear in you, it's also clear there's no you or there's no other people. It's like how do you talk about that? But it's so obvious. There's no self in that body, person, what do you call it? It's like there's nothing there.
Good point. Yeah. We just have to make it up on the spot, I guess. How's your sense of time?
Oh God, I gotta. My Google Calendar is full of just small little. Don't forget to do this. Don't forget to pick up your laundry in like 30 minutes. And even if the alarm goes off, I'll forget to look at it. It's like I'll just turn off the alarm. It's like, oh yeah, I was supposed to get the laundry earlier in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank goodness for that tool. Same here. This Google calendar is, I mean, you can kind of see how many things are on there. It's just
Mine looks very similar to that.
it's the only way, it seems.
Like I don't even remember what I've done. Like my calendar will tell you what I've done. Don't ask me, ask my calendar.
That's
It's my
perfect.
new secretary.
That so that yeah, the next time somebody asks you, well, "What'd you do today?" You just show them a picture of the calendar. I don't really know, but this will tell you.
How was your weekend? Let me go get my calendar.
That's funny. Love it. So you said you were at the lake?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, do you live near a large lake?
It was a really like moderate size. It was like the next town over, so about a 30-minute drive.
Is it still warm where you're at?
It's starting to get colder.
Hmm. Yeah, we've gotten a lot of snow here. I'm gonna show you a picture. It's kind of cool. This is what we saw this morning. I don't know how good the focus will be.
It's not really focused, but it
Here,
definitely
let me switch it. I'm gonna switch the camera real quick so you can see it.
it's a lot clearer now. It's a pretty great photo.
Yeah, a lot of snow. Um, it's pretty fun.
Mm.
Always something a little different.
You know, I can even say my relationship with like the weather and temperature change is like I almost can't reference hot or cold in
Hmm.
a way.
Yeah, yeah. As preferences begin to kind of peel away a little bit too, um, or entirely. Actually, it's funny. It's like to have a preference seems like there has to be a thought that refers to something that has maybe a storyline to it. I prefer warm over cold. That doesn't show up. If it's cold, that's enjoyable. Oh, now it's warm. That's enjoyable. It's kind of like that.
It's enjoyable, and yet the body also responds in its own ways. Like if it's cold, like you can put on another layer, or if it's hot, you can take a
Yeah,
layer off. But it's not about you wanting to be more or less cold. It's just a natural thing.
yeah, yeah. That's a perfect way to describe that a thought doesn't need to come before something. It
Mm.
just can happen. Oh, there's another layer on. I didn't have to have a thought about it. Perfect.
It's like relationships between anything is like you can't believe it.
Unbelievable. Inconceivable.
It's like
In-
everything is gone.
Incredible. Yeah, that's amazing. It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have that flow. It's kind of nice to be able to notice, when you were talking about the microscope, the little sneaky ways that the identity is attempting to create a story or narrative or a reference of whatever it seems to be, and it's awesome how you are just simply noticing it, and then in the notice, there's nothing there. So fun.
Like resistance or even selfing, it just isn't the problem anymore. Because the problem, if that's a problem, that's just more selfing. It's like it's like a delusion, trying to get rid of a delusion with more delusions.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like taking a mirror and reflecting the mirror to get rid of the mirror.
That probably looked really cool though if you saw it in person.
Yeah. You know, turn down the lights and shine a laser and see what happens.
I mean, on some level, I'll even say delusion is almost entertaining to watch, even
See,
my own.
I mean, that's the best way to describe the whole thing that people talk about with the cosmic joke is it's like every thought is a punchline. The delusion itself is a punchline to some. It's funny, it's entertaining, it's interesting in its own way without we don't have to be it to notice it. I love it.
It's great. It just feels like it feels like whatever you get from meditation never turns off.
Yeah,
And yet
meditation, eyes wide open.
and you still do it just because like it's really enjoyable for no reason.
Yeah, that's it.
Like,
Yeah,
'cause I feel around people that meditate, and I'll hear like why they meditate, and it's like it's awesome to hear it. And at the same time, it's like I can't relate to it at all.
right. Yeah. There's like no outcome that's being sought after, you know? I love that.
Yeah, I hear people like, oh, like let me meditate on this so I can get more clear. For me, like when I meditate, everything gets so blurry. It's like nothing's there anymore. It's like I don't understand more. I understand less.
See, that there's something in that. It feels, yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. It's not clarity in the way that the mind has clarity. It's clarity in the fact that maybe there's nothing here.
It's so funny. Like I can't find anything anywhere now.
Yeah. Yeah. What about how does desire ever show up? Like wanting for things?
On the occasion, and it's so weird. It's like when you can actually just have the desire and just not resist it. It's almost like you're watching a TV advertisement, like, oh, you gotta get this, and then you'll feel this way. And it's like, whoa, this is a really boring commercial. Like, I've seen this commercial before.
That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really clear. There's not desire in the way that it used to be really at all. There's no sense of wanting, and even though that's showing up and you're noticing it, it's perfect. As you keep watching that, just keep doing what you're doing, and maybe you'll start to see that there's nothing there with that either. I mean, this is huge. Just noticing that there's no problem is huge. When every once in a while I have these cards, I don't know if I've ever shown you the koan cards. Um, there's one in here that says, I don't care and I don't need to care. And that's what it's pointing to, is it's not seeking an outcome. That's all. It's not about a lack of compassion. It's about not caring what's going to happen or what I'm going to get out of anything. It's just being completely immersed in that. So to allow the desire, if it seems like desire, like the commercial, to run without like feeling trapped in it or engaged with it in the way that makes you feel identified, then what's the problem? And that's kind of what it seems like you're pointing to now, which is great.
Yeah, it's like maybe I'm walking down the street and the desires are like posters on the wall. I'll be like, come to my store, 20% off next 3 hours or something. Buy now.
It is like that. Yeah, it is like that. It's like it wants to trigger some kind of compulsive or impulsive action. But when we're not being compelled anymore and we're watching it, it's the same thing that we were talking about earlier. Is there anything even there?
It's like everything just goes back to nothing.
Seems like it. Very much. Yeah. Did you ever have a like distinct sense of that nothingness?
It's
It's hard to talk about.
it's like a nothing, but it's not like an empty nothing. But that doesn't make sense. So I don't know what else to say about it. It's like a non-empty empty.
Hmm. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. That's basically how Angelo describes it. It's it's like a nothingness or an emptiness, but it's not what the mind wants to create out of that. Because the mind wants to attempt to imagine what emptiness is or nothingness, and nope, that's not it.
It's like there are no rules, including the rule that there are no rules.
Yeah, it's like the saying of there is no certainty, including that exact statement.
I don't know,
Interesting.
it has this very transient feel to everything. And yet even like walking feels so different. Like
Hmm.
I, this might sound completely complete nonsense, but sometimes when I walk, I don't know where the ground is.
Totally.
Like
Yes.
I can't reference the ground or anything. It's like
Right. Yeah. It's just walking. There is nothing else but walking. And even then, is there even walking? It's like that. Yeah. Um, We're not referencing the ground anymore. That's all that is. So there is no ground. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it's like that with everything. Like when there's no reference, like everything is here. Like this, like all the senses. That includes thoughts too, but there's like no distinction. Like you don't gotta have a preference, even your senses over your thoughts.
Beautiful.
Like
That,
they're not separate.
man, it's like, it's weird. It's like we somehow, there's so much synchronicity here. I'm saying weird, not because it's, I don't know how to put it. It's just, it's impossible to orient with the mind. That's been
Mhm.
coming up a lot lately as a conversation about thought is, it's like, it's a sense. Even that's a sense, just like you said. And that becomes really obvious.
Yeah,
And then it's like, what's not a sense all of a sudden?
yeah. It's just weird because thought is like one of the senses that think it's separate from everything else, but it's not. You can't take thoughts away from everything else either. It's part of everything else, but it's not everything else. And yeah, it is in a way. It's like, how do you even describe that this thing tries to separate itself, but it's not separate?
It's so perfect. So perfect how you're describing it though. Because this for anyone that would be able to hear how you're pointing here is what you're basically pointing to is thoughts aren't a problem. And even though we watch thoughts and we get to know thoughts, that's where the recognition of thoughts aren't a problem. If we're rejecting thoughts and fighting with them and pushing them, we're making them a problem.
Yeah, and that's just another because there's no one watching the thoughts. They're just here.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's hard to have problems where you're like, who's having the problem? And I don't mean that in a dissociative way. It's like, I feel amazing, but like, there's no one that feels amazing. It's just, I don't know. What am I even talking about? I'm, I'm, I'm confusing myself, and yet it's awesome to feel confused. Like confusion, it feels great, actually.
Okay, that's another great pointing. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I'm confused," and that has a connotation of something that's a problem. And what's the problem with confusion? No problem. I mean, that's what clarity seems to be, which I know it's a paradox, but clarity seems to be complete immersion in that which cannot be oriented to. It's basically confusion, but it's not confusion in the way that the mind thinks of confusion. It's just, it's not being stuck or fixated on any sense. That's all.
Like when you're not afraid to be confused, it's just curiosity. Like
Oh, there,
it's awesome.
there, that's the piece. What's the difference between curiosity and confusion? Confusion is more thought oriented. I mean, we're referring it to the same way because we feel it the same way, but somebody out there might orient confusion to something that hurts or doesn't feel good or is uncomfortable. But it's really the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even have an aversion to physical pain, which is weird.
Yeah,
Like
I almost put out a video about that. There was a point where I got really curious about physical pain, and there was one evening I grabbed a skewer out of the kitchen drawer, and I just decided to see like what it's like to push it into my hand, and I pushed it all the way through this part of my hand right here, and it was just I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't what I thought it was. It was just sensations. And then I thought, well, that's probably not a good idea to keep doing those things. Yet,
yeah,
what is pain?
like when
It's
you resist, it's
something else to be curious about.
like everything is just more curiosity. Like you just want to. I don't even want to use the word experience. Is so if the word experience feels so tight, like it's a thing, but what other word is there? It's like it's
Yeah,
like experience, but something more expansive than experience. Because like experience is like you can almost pinpoint it, but it's like an experience with no boundaries.
that's that's another good way to put it. Yeah, experience feels personal until we have an experience that's not personal, and then that's not an experience, it just is experience. And that's not, see, I get what you're saying. That doesn't even encapsulate it. It's not experience, it's everything. Experience feels like we're cheapening it into something that we can own or hold on to, but it's not even that. That's a beautiful way to put it. This is another thing that's been showing up this week. Thought being a sense, and this, however to describe this in any way, is like something that's sensed. It's another sense. So we could call it experience, but that's still not quite it.
Yeah, because I can't even say these are my sensations. Like the senses don't point to me either. It's like they don't point to anything. It's like there's literally nothing anywhere. Like
Uh,
when I feel the wind, it's like it's not about me. The wind blowing on me isn't personal, and yet the feeling doesn't. It's not like on me. Like where is it? I don't know, but it's here.
okay. Another great pointing. This would be orienting around the pointing of what can be owned. Definitely can't own our senses because they're not ours. So even saying our senses makes no sense. Beautiful. That's what you were basically pointing to. It's beautiful.
It's like there's no center for anything.
Right.
Only when we talk we have to point to a center because we can't point to nothing. We just keep our mouth shut and nothing. I mean, that's great too. But when someone asks you a question, sometimes you want to talk, but sometimes you just want to shut up, and it's also great. Like there's
Yeah.
no answer. There's nothing to say, and yet you can say whatever you want.
That's it. Freedom, man. And that shows up here a lot too. There's just sometimes nothing to say. I totally get that. And then somehow in the midst of what seems to be a conversation, something is being said. It's just so strange. So strange. But yeah, even the words, do you ever get the sense that playing with language like that, it's not that we're doing it, it almost seems like that's also happening, but it feels like a game in itself. Like to say I, and this is what happens in radical non-duality, by the way, is people will get fixated on language a little bit and they'll say, oh, you said I, or you said me, or you said my experience. And it's like, yeah, but it's kind of like a joke. Like I'm not really buying it. It's the only way to kind of create the conversation, it seems. Do you ever get that sense?
Yeah, because even when other people say, I have a problem, I don't believe that they have a problem, but they believe they do. But I can see that there actually isn't a problem. But I'm not going to say, oh, you don't actually have a problem. That's pretty rude. Like I'm still pretty like I am still pretty tactful. It's like it may be conditioning, but it doesn't matter. It could be a habit, but it doesn't matter. It's just how I am. Why? There's no reason. There's no source to your any reason. There's just what is.
That's it. Could be conditioning, could be compassion. Doesn't matter, I guess. Even then, what is compassion? Doesn't matter. That's it. Doesn't matter. Just is. Sounds pretty nice, man. And here's a good question that could come up for some people. There's like this pursuit of happiness that seems to happen through life. Like I got to get something to make me happy. I got to do something that's fun. Would you say it's the same sensation, or does it feel like there's some kind of different quality to it? What seems to show up there? I mean, could you just roll it into a sense of happiness, or does it seem like maybe something else?
That's the hardest question I've been asked in a while. But I'm like so curious on what I even want to know what's gonna come out my mouth because I don't even know what I'm about to say, but it's like it's almost like you can distinguish happiness from pleasure. Like maybe relative stuff is pleasure.
Hmm.
But there's like this, I don't want to use the word happiness, but there's this,
Hmm.
there's like this, it's like when there's no sense of self trying to relate, there's only that sense of whatever is happening. And it's not happiness, but it doesn't have like an opposite because when there's an opposite, there's this like sense of like I gotta distinguish, but when there's no distinguishing, there's like you're just it's like you've died into what's happening and there's nothing else but this.
Hmm.
But it's so hard. I'm hesitant to
Yeah.
call it happiness, and yet I don't know why I'm so animated. You can say I'm happy, but I wouldn't say I'm feeling happy. I don't know what I'm feeling, but I'm feeling
Yeah.
everything.
It's not the same as like whatever happiness used to be was predicated on something, but you have such a good point there. It's Yeah. Well, I think your answer is perfect. I wouldn't even want to mess with that. And I know that's a tough question because then it's like asking to orient around something that can't be oriented. But I think you worded it perfectly right there. It's like in the animated, it doesn't come from anywhere. There's no reason. It just is.
Like I'm not even resistant to being sleep deprived. Apparently, I can function. Is it function? Maybe not like function, but like I'm so like into the sleep deprivation. It's like almost awesome in a way. It's like sleep deprivation when you don't resist it. It's like this is awesome. But I hope I don't fall asleep behind the wheel. So there's still that discernment. It's like I still got to be extra careful, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Angelo often points to things happen a lot for people while driving, and just be a little bit more vigilant, because you're traveling at a high speed.
Yeah. Flow doesn't mean you can't have like this wise discernment. It's like, hey, more attention is required, but I'm not the one deciding to give more attention. It's just obvious to pay more attention.
Yeah, actually, that's a great word for all of this. It just seems obvious. Whatever's here is obviously here. That's it. Don't have to make a story, don't need a narrative, so on and so forth. It's a good way to put it. I like it. I like the simplicity in that.
And if it's not obvious, then it's obvious that it's not obvious, and you don't have to add any more to that.
So it's always obvious, because if it's obvious that it's not obvious, then that's obvious.
Exactly. Like, well, there's nothing more to say.
Uh,
It's so fun to talk about because every time you talk about it, you have to say something new because you can't remember the last thing you said about it. So it's like it's always a brand new thing about the exact same thing, which is nothing. So we're not even talking about anything.
it's just nothing. That's obvious. Man. Great conversation. This is fun. uh, and there's like literally nothing to say. That's the best. So many pointers. Same kind of thing. I don't know if you're open to it, but man, this would be another great share for
I am totally down if you want to share this because
you. You just have a naturalness that is so relatable. I mean, there's no whiff of putting on even a theatric, which sometimes happens with people, and even then, it doesn't mean anything. But it's just right to the core, and I think it's useful for people to see that because they see something that's here too. It can't be separate.
it's like there's no pedestal. It's just there's the pedestal and the absence simultaneously. Like
Mm.
there's like that reverence for what's happening, and yet you don't like make it all about this, and yet it's also all about this while not being about it. It's like
That's
I
it.
don't separate spiritual from relative. It's just everything is fucking awesome. I don't know why I just said the F word. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the F word,
Yeah,
but
you
I'm
can
like,
say whatever you want. This is pure freedom. Don't worry about it. But you have a point. Is there a difference between
there is
spiritual and
none.
relative?
Like,
That's a huge point, because I think the mind for some people creates this object of there's something else, and then you're like, I don't think there is. I think it's obviously just this.
like sometimes, like there was a day, so one of the problem kids, he just screamed at the top of his lungs and ran. And like that was so meditative for me for some reason. Like I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Even though like all the staff is like trying to stop him, it's like this is a disaster. I'm like, yeah. I didn't say it, but it felt like it was such a yeah that was so encompassing. Like I mean, I had to run after him because it was my job, but still, it was like, yeah, I am not against him screaming and running, and me having to chase after him. It's all, it's like all one big joke. There's no no anymore, but even
Oh,
if there's no, it's like there's a yes to the no.
oh, so good. Yeah, there's a yes to the no. That's a good way to put it too. Um, If a no comes out, it still feels like a yes.
And then it's like there's no more yes or no. Like you can't distinguish the yes or the no anymore. It's just
That's it.
what is a yes or a no?
Okay, so Johnny, this is a great point for people who are parents, because this is what it's like to parent now, is that even if no comes out, there it is so clear and it's so obvious that it feels like a yes. And there's not a distinguishment, like you said. It's instant. Boop. There's your, so Avalon, the 14-year-old that lives here,
Mm-hmm.
she comes up and she's like, it's 10:30 at night. She's like, hey, can I go hang out with my friends? And it was just like, no, like that easy. Nothing. And even the no was like a hell yeah, like part of like what you were saying, he's screaming and he's running. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
It's just everything is so silent and yet nothing stopped.
Yeah. No problems, man. Isn't that nice?
It's
Without having to distinguish it, it just feels obvious.
it's so crazy because I didn't do this. I didn't. There's nothing. There's no. I don't like. I don't. How do I talk about this? And it's like
Yeah.
there was never. I never guided the search. There was never a. There wasn't someone looking, and there wasn't an actual search.
Mm-hmm.
What was all this? It was all just a big old prank by a simple thought.
Every thought is a prank. That's perfect. So there's a particular gentleman I'm working with, and he wants to put a documentary together, and it's about awakening, but he wants to do it from like a humorous point of view. And there's so many things that you said. I think the two of you speaking would be pretty cool. So maybe if you're open to it, I'll connect you, just because I think I think there's such a value to the laughter part, and it's just so funny. I don't know why. It's like the cosmic joke it's just so clear all the time.
Yeah, I am completely open.
And it's like you're not taking anything seriously, because what the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, and yet that doesn't mean you can't be stern, because sometimes you gotta be stern. And
Yeah, but that's obvious.
yeah, like I'm not gonna let you eat this leaf, kid. I'm gonna grab it from your hand. Like
Oh,
no.
oh man. Oh, yeah, that'd be funny. Just to see that interaction would be hilarious.
Even people being stern with me is like it's not about me, and it's like yeah,
Good
tell
point.
me what to do better. I'm
Good
all
point. Good point. This so the 4 agreements written by Don Miguel Ruiz. One of the agreements is don't take anything or take nothing personally. And now that's like transcended. It's not like take it personally but pretend you don't. It's no, there's no me. It's not about me. There's something really, really juicy in that.
yeah, it's like you're detached but not disconnected, and it's just like how do you find that line? And when you find it, it's like there is no line, and yet it's so obvious when someone's disconnected or dissociating.
That's it. It's such a fine line of, because this is immersion. You're completely connected, but somehow disconnected from the thing that was telling you that you were connected before. I don't even. It's impossible to put into words, but that's basically what it is. It's almost like being caught up in this construct of what duality seems to be, and these thoughts and this identity. That's actually disassociation. Now you've discovered this is immersion. This is connection just with what is.
And it can't be any other way. And it's like that for every there's a I was gonna say person or thing or but even those aren't it. They're like what am I pointing to? I don't know, and yet it's so obvious.
So obvious. That's a good word. If you don't mind, I'm going to borrow that one.
Absolutely.
Because that's just such a obvious way to put it.
Obviously, it couldn't be any other way.
And when it's not obvious, that's obvious, which is obvious.
Yeah, obviously we didn't know any better. which is great because it's like so innocent. Because obviously we can't know better.
Good point. Innocence. That's been another theme that seems to have arisen this week. Yeah, how could we know? We couldn't know. You can't know. Not like that. But yeah, innocent. Such a playful quality to it. And even the things that seem really hard and tough and gritty for people, that's also innocence. Strange.
Strange is so cool too, because strange gets you curious.
That's it. Strange is a nice beginner for curiosity. There's a shirt that I was having a text conversation with somebody, and they're like, it should just say "Get weird." Get weird, because that's curiosity right there.
I mean, if it's not weird, you probably already know what's happening, and then it gets kind of boring. It gets kind of remedial and repetitive.
That's that essence of certainty. Certainty is where this seems to be compartmentalized, where it goes to die, so to speak, metaphorically, right? Oh, I'm certain. I don't care anymore. We don't engage. But if we don't have certainty, then, and if it's weird or strange or curious, there we go. Now we're engaged.
Like, I can't even be certain that I'm here. I can't be certain that I'm even talking to you. I can't even be certain that you're listening to me. I can't be certain of anything.
I can't be certain that I even exist.
Exactly. Like, who wants to know anyways? Like, even who cares if I exist?
Who cares? See, there it is. I don't care. I don't need to care. Who cares? Who cares? Does it matter either way?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Man, great conversation.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
I have no idea what we just talked about.
Yeah, actually, neither do I. I think did you say something? You said something about a lake at one point. That's all that's showing up.
Did I say it? Who said it actually?
That's awesome.
I'm confused. Why are we here again?
Something to do with your shirt.
Oh, okay. I have a shirt on? I thought I was naked. I didn't even realize I had a shirt on until you mentioned it.
Awesome. Man, so good to see you.
Yeah, it's
Appreciate all your interactions, even if you're not doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the channel and things like that. And it's just nice to reconnect with you. Nice to see you. Nice to hear all these wonderful new explorations, so to speak.
And they all happened by complete accident because no one was guiding it.
So, okay, one more time. What happened with the kid that screamed and ran off?
He just like went and he just ran. And I chased him. And then someone grabbed me and said, "It's a losing battle. Don't chase him." And I'm like, yeah. So like, I had to just stop chasing him.
Oh, beautiful. That's a great way. It's beautiful. All right, my friend. So nice to see you.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can connect you with my friend and see where that goes. But yeah, I'll be in touch.
Enjoy the holiday season.
Oh yeah, you too. Happy holiday.
Yeah, you. Bye. It was nice hearing from you.
Yeah. See you later.